Nate Silver is giving Donald Trump some pretty decent odds of winning now. And it seems as though this has caused quite a stir between Nate Silver and the Huffington Post. Like, they got into a huge nerd battle, and I don't use nerd condescendingly. I'm a nerd, right? But anyway, I digress. But it's not. Nate Silver is getting Donald Trump like 1 in 3 chance of winning tomorrow night. And I think the Huffington Post has Donald Trump at a 2% chance of winning tomorrow night. The difference in their models, I believe, is the emphasis that Nate Silver places on the more recent polls versus the historical polls that the Huffington Post model places an emphasis on. Both of them have basically say Donald Trump is going to lose. But Nate Silver did give a path. He said it's possible because of the state of the race in states like the polling in Florida and Arizona. Donald Trump is now doing well enough to be in play that it's possible that tomorrow night we could end up with a President Donald Trump. So it is. Let me read. This is from who is this? The New York Magazine. I want to read this paragraph. Particularly here, Silver's model isn't as sticky. It presumes that more recent polling data is more accurate, even if those surveys depart drastically from the past norm, or at least it's a presumption more readily held by the Huffington Post. This is what I want to read. And one way Silver fits its model to that presumption is by adjusting state-level poll results to reflect the new national trend. So basically, he's weighting the more recent results more heavily, which, as you can see from blame it on Comey, blame it on the FBI, blame it on whatever you want to blame it on. Hillary Clinton took a hit, right? And Donald Trump really gained from this situation with the emails, right? So much so that Hillary Clinton had to change their entire method of campaigning over the last 11 days. Instead of campaigning to try to take the Senate, they had a campaign just to save their election, right? So clearly there has been a dramatic shift in the polling in favor of Donald Trump. The question between Nate Silver and the Huffington Post was really a question of which one carries more weight. Is it the historical trends, which are, at this point, the historical data suggests that Hillary Clinton should crush Donald Trump. The more recent polling looks like, well, it could be a tight race. Nate Silver is erring on the side of the more recent polls, which just kind of anecdotally, it really is a question of ultimately like who wasn't already decided. When I say decided, I don't mean they're casually deciding. I'm saying people who are already baked into the system. Like, there's a certain percentage of the electorate that no matter what happens between tonight and tomorrow, Hillary Clinton can be found guilty of manslaughter between tonight and tomorrow. There's a certain percentage of the electorate that's not going to change their vote either direction, right? And so it really depends on how many people are actually, I don't want to say undecided because that's such a broad term, but how many people are affected by the changing news cycles. And do the most recent polls really capture a fair estimate of how many people are actually affected by it? Like, and I'm not challenging, trust me, I'm not challenging them on their statistical analyses. I'm just giving you some real, practical questions to think about this with, right? Right? Because, I did okay in statistics, but it really, I'm sorry, I'm an asshole. But it really just goes to the question of, like, who are these people? Who are they talking to at this point? I am curious to see if there are that many undecided voters whose opinions are, I guess there are people now, mind you, there are a lot of people who are not engaged, who were not aware of all the email scandal, who I don't know how you couldn't be, but I guess we're talking about people who did not pay attention throughout the summer. And now they're just realizing, oh, shit, Hillary Clinton's under investigation. Let's go for Donald Trump. Or we're less enthusiastic about Hillary Clinton. or we're less likely to go out. All those things come into play. And so it's possible. I'm not saying anything about one side or the other in terms of their statistical analysis, but what I will say is that this shit was funny to me. Bruh, let me tell you, I'm going to read these tweets because that they got into a full-blown nerd fight on Twitter based on one more. Zoom in, one more. Okay, I'm going to bring this up on your screen. I want you to see this because it is it's good. All right, so Nate responding to an article that the Huffington Post put out, basically saying this article is so effing idiotic and irresponsible. He goes on to say, the reason we adjust polls for the national trend is because that's what works best empirically. It's not a subjective assumption. The reason, okay, and then, come on, New Yorker, you don't know how to paste a thread. It was wrong to show Clinton with a 6-point lead as per Huffington Post when almost no national polls show that. Doesn't reflect the data. That's what makes a model a useful scientific and journalistic tool. It's a way to understand how elections work. Not just, I mean, he's going on and on and on. The problem, according to Nate Silver, is that we're doing this in a world where people don't actually give a S about the evidence and proof. And then he goes here, when you go low, I go high 80% of the time and knee you in the balls the other 20% of the time. Bruh, that is like the nerd battle of, I mean, that is funny to me. So he's like epically pissed because somebody challenged his data. I don't know. Which data you think is more accurate? I mean, because we're really trying to project how badly at this point Donald Trump is going to lose. I think there's only one occasion where Nate Silver actually said, here is the path. And this is what the data is saying, how Donald Trump can win. But other than that, we're talking about odds that are not in Donald Trump's favor. So we're really arguing a moot point. But in the statistical analysis, it is extremely, extremely important. And at this point for our conversation, it is completely irrelevant because I just realized I don't give a fuck about this.